Hi everyone, Destiny Destano here, the internet's most nihilistic Destiny nerd. And today I have some things to say about Destiny halfway through the season as we go into 2020. I feel like a Destiny nihilist lately, and I'm very afraid of this video coming off as having, person who plays for 8 hours a day doesn't have anything to do kind of vibes. So I'm sorry if it comes off that way, even though I'm pretty sure it will. Even though I don't actually play for 8 hours a day anymore. It's maybe like 8 a week if I'm making videos. In an Ask Me Anything I did on Twitter recently, someone asked me the best and worst thing about Destiny right now. And my answer was, there's so much to do and none of it matters. I'm a very goal-oriented player when I play video games. If I have a goal in front of me that I want to achieve, then we're solid. But as soon as I reach that goal, I need a new one, or I just get bored and I'm done. This is why, for example, I stopped playing Monster Hunter World. I got to the end game, I killed all the big bosses that I wanted to kill, I played with my friends, I crafted all the gear that I wanted to craft, I did all the things that I wanted to do, and then I was done. Borderlands 3 is another. I played for 3 or 4 days straight, I got all the guns I wanted to get, I got as strong as I wanted to get, I demolished everything in the game, and I was done. I had no other goals. I've played Minecraft once in my life, a couple of months ago, because it never really had any goals, and I am not good in places where I do not have goals. Destiny is different in that, one, it's my job, let's not beat around the bush, it's my job, it's my livelihood, but two, I enjoy playing the game for the sake of playing the game more than I've enjoyed playing other games for the same reasons. But even my love of Destiny only goes so far. I know that the end game nowadays is supposed to be shifting more towards building your character and all that kind of stuff, but that just sort of rings the same bells that Borderlands 3 rung for me when I stopped playing that. Builds are cool and all, but when I can already annihilate everything in the game with garbage weapons anyway, with only 1 or 2 activities where I can actually challenge myself and be rewarded for it, eventually I'm just going to get tired of that, which is where I find myself now. Even the stuff that ends up being super broken to the point where Bungie has to disable it, I just don't find myself caring. Season of Dawn itself as a batch of Destiny content isn't bad, it's fine. But it's lacking an endgame, it's lacking purpose. I have nothing to really sink my teeth into besides alternate builds. The endgame for this season, for me anyway, is grinding 10 power levels and was grinding up my obelisks. The hard mode Sundial just launched, but it's a 950 activity, so if you got to last season's power cap, you can participate in this right now. And there are no differences between the two other than power level and the fact that you get a pinnacle drop. Master level content did not increase in level, so there's no incentive to keep pushing to 970. Not that 970 is an exciting goal. To me, and I imagine most hardcore players, a 10 level increase in the cap does little to nothing to keep people interested. A 20 or 30 increase would not really have kept me interested either. A new raid would have been neat, but I know not to expect a new raid every season. It is very clear now, to me, that a new spin-off activity where we grind out a handful of guns every season will become stale. I don't think that this is sustainable because it is far too samey of an experience, but for 6-man match-made activities, which is something that the community really likes, I don't know how much deeper they could really make this experience because we've already had a pretty deep experience in the Menagerie. And as I've said before, the Menagerie is the best and worst thing to happen to Destiny as of recent. There's a cap to how strong guns can be. We don't have places to test our metal, our guns, our high-powered builds, other than maybe the repeatable Master Nightfall, arguably one of the better things that's happened to the game recently. But with seasonal mods being mandatory, you can only use a handful of those weapons per season anyway. Sure, even if Trials does end up coming back, that's something where PvPers can get back into the groove of things, but it does little to nothing for the PvE crowd. Now, I'm not saying that the PvP crowd doesn't deserve to have something for them, because the Crucible has been, well, In fact, I'm more than willing to let the Crucible side of the game have a season to bolster it, and then giving PvE something later, or in another season. I wasn't much of a title hunter in Destiny until Season 6. By the time Shadowkeep was launching, I had all of the titles, except for the new ones and Unbroken. I got all of those new titles as soon as they were able to be obtained, and I was relieved and horrified. I was relieved as I no longer was locked to title grinding, and I had accomplished what I wanted. I was horrified because I now truly had almost nothing left to do in the game. I had run out of significant long-term goals. Granted, this is a position that not many people find themselves in. Not many people playing Destiny right now have literally everything the game has to offer, but not everyone is a title grinder either. Sure, I have some very short-term or small goals like grabbing certain exotics of elemental affinities that I want, but that leads us to the main nihilistic argument. Nothing matters. At least in this particular season, Season 9, maxing out gear doesn't matter, stats don't really matter, guns don't really matter. There's not a ton of difficulty to the game, and if there is, it's just because you're not high enough level. This is in big contrast to the day-to-day experience of Destiny 1, where it was definitely a harder game overall. My vault is full of weapon rolls that I've collected over the years, and since weapons aren't retired, ever, the only thing that will differentiate weapons from others is if they happen to be one of the weapons that can roll with a specific perk. For example, Line in the Sand and Firing Line, or other archetypes that we just haven't seen before in other slots. This is why I think exotics lately are less about power and more about unique functionality. I understand why things aren't retired. You know, people want the freedom to use whatever they've earned whenever they want, and that's fine. My counter argument would be that this just makes future loot sort of boring, but this isn't really a matter of right or wrong, it's more of personal preference. I honestly don't care about grinding out god roll weapons from Sundial because most of them are just going to sit in my vault, and rituals and pinnacles are so good anyway that if you have some of them, you don't really need anything else. The newer of a player you are, the less this argument holds up. You're still building an arsenal. The longer you've been around, the more I can imagine you may be able to relate. The seasonal model of slow content drips, it's a tough call. Spacing things out ensures that there's some stuff to do throughout the season, sure, compared to dropping everything on day one and having people blitz through all of it in a week and then asking for more. It still is going to take the same amount of time to complete all of the seasonal things as they launch. The only difference is when they come out. So I'm not sure that's the main issue. For people who can't play much, having a 30 to 60 minute time investment once a week or every other week is probably a pretty good deal to those worried about missing out on new stuff like exotic quests or story components, or those worried about trying to keep up with everybody else. You know, some things are a hit, others are a miss, and the gaps between waiting for those things can feel reminiscent of previous gaps in content. Besides title grinding, there isn't much for people, again, to sink their teeth into. There is no mastery pursuit. I base that solely off of Season of the Undying and Season of Dawn alone. Obviously, big expansion launches are a bit different. This isn't to say that the game should be completely catered to those hardcore players, though, the I want to play every day for 5 hours players, but rather I would love to see the game get more options or difficulty settings or worthwhile rewards for players who do want to invest a lot of time into the game. I suppose titles were that thing, and if that was the response to the hardcore wanting more, then okay. I am not saying that there's nothing to do, because there's plenty of stuff to do, just none of it matters. Running old raids doesn't matter, the Strike playlist doesn't matter, Sundial doesn't really matter. Unfortunately, the amount of people who would actually take advantage of these extra modes and things that I'm asking for and whatnot is probably not enough for Bungie to invest into all of that work, especially if that work is seasonal only. It would have to be a part of the base game experience, but the base game is free now. You see where I'm going with that? I still enjoy playing the game itself for what it is, but without guidance, without objectives, I just find myself waffling on what to do, and most of the time that turns into logging off, which turns into disinterest. That's not a bad thing, and I would argue that it's potentially a good thing for people. You know, you don't want to burn yourself out on Destiny, or anything, ever, right? That's just not a good move. But yes, with this being my job and all, I don't really have the luxury of leaving the game for 2 months and then coming back when things are hot. Again, you know, I get it. Oh, man who plays video game for a living, upset that there isn't much to do. I get it. Not a great look. Alright, I understand. I have no idea what's going to be happening in Season 10, besides maybe Trials, which is not confirmed at all. If it is more of the same, though, if it's another menagerie-style thing with the ability to grind some guns, I don't know what to say about that other than it's probably getting a little samey. And again, I know that Bungie is working with fewer resources compared to last year, which is a factor. And again, yes, Eververse is also a significant factor in this, but I'm really done talking about Eververse at this point. I said it in a previous Thoughts video. It does not feel like Eververse is ever going to change. It does not feel like it is up for discussion. I know I've said that we should temper expectations, and I still have them tempered, but rather this is what I believe is going to be an issue with the hardcore crowd going into 2020. Anyway, that's all I got on this mid-season, not really a review, just kind of how I'm feeling about the game right now and the future kind of video. There's not really a name for that. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.